story of the Chosen One's fall was not a tragedy, a prophecy that would find its ultimate answer generations later, not in his son, but in the granddaughter of his greatest enemy. Rey and Anakin Skywalker were both pawns in Palpatine's grand design, haunted by their pasts and tempted by the dark side. Here, we will analyze the stunning parallels in their journeys and reveal the single pivotal choice that created a mirror image of redemption, the choice that separates a hero from a villain. The Star Wars saga is built on echoes, on rhymes, and repetitions that give the galaxy its mythic scale. No echo is louder than the one between two figures, born generations apart, on planets that were centers of nothing: Anakin Skywalker and Rey. Both of their stories begin in the endless sand and scorching sun of a forgotten desert world. For Anakin, it was the slave quarters of Mos Espa on Tatooine. For Rey, it was the graveyards of fallen Star Destroyers on Jakku. By every measure, they were nobodies. Anakin was property, a boy, defined by a slave transmitter implanted in his body, who had to declare to a queen, "I'm a person, and my name is Anakin." Rey was a scavenger, bartering scraps for portions, defined by the hope that the parents who left her would one day return. And yet, despite their humble, isolated beginnings, the Force was singularly potent in them. Both were prodigies of instinct. Anakin wasn't just a good pilot. He was the only human to win the Boonta Eve Classic Poge Race, a feat of precognitive reflex thought impossible for his species. Rey, who had never left her planet, could pilot the Millennium Falcon with a skill that shocked its former captain. Both possessed an innate understanding of mechanics, a feel for how things fit together, from a droid to a hyperdrive. They were self-reliant survivors, shaped and hardened by the desert. For both, the call to a larger world was not a gentle invitation, but an abrupt upheaval. Qui-Gon Jinn's arrival on Tatooine yanked Anakin from the only home he had ever known into the heart of galactic politics. For Rey, a frantic droid and a runaway stormtrooper pulled her from her quiet desperation into a war against the First Order. Their journeys did not begin with a choice to leave, but with the undeniable pull of destiny, setting them on a path laid for them long before they were born. This brings us to the wounds that would define them. The central vulnerability in both Anakin and Rey is a deep-seated trauma related to family. It is the fracture in their foundation that a master manipulator like Palpatine could exploit to perfection. Anakin's trauma was twofold. First, the pain of leaving his mother, Shmai, in slavery. This separation left a festering wound of guilt and helplessness. This wound was torn open years later by vivid nightmares of her suffering, nightmares that became a horrifying reality when she died in his arms. That moment, his slaughter of the Tusken Raiders, was his first true taste of the dark side's power, a monstrous release of pain and rage. His grief became a weapon. His second trauma was the fear of losing his new family, specifically his secret wife, Padme Amidala. Having failed to save his mother, Anakin became pathologically obsessed with preventing the loss of the next woman he loved, and Palpatine was there to stoke that fear. Canon sources confirm that Palpatine used the dark side to influence Anakin's visions of Padme's death, presenting himself as the only one who understood, the only one offering a solution, the dark side's supposed power over death. Rey's trauma is a mirror image of this, not the pain of losing a parent, but the pain of being left by them. Her existence on Jakku was an act of waiting, of holding on to the belief that her family would return. This created a profound loneliness and a desperate need for belonging. As we learn in The Rise of Skywalker, her parents abandoned her to protect her from her grandfather, Emperor Palpatine. They were killed for their defiance, making her an orphan not by accident, but by the sinister design of the man who now sought to claim her. For both Anakin and Rey, Palpatine positioned himself as the answer. To Anakin, he was the father figure the rigid Jedi Order could never be, whispering promises of power. To Rey, he offered the one thing she always craved: a lineage, a throne, a place to finally belong. He groomed them both by exploiting the exact same wound, a broken heart caused by the loss of family. Every hero's journey possesses a crucible, a moment of ultimate testing where the line between right and wrong blurs. For Anakin and Rey, this test was nearly identical. Both were brought to a moment of choice by Palpatine, with the life of someone they cared for hanging in the balance. First, on Coruscant, in the Chancellor's office, Mace Windu has Palpatine defeated. Anakin arrives, panicked and broken. But Palpatine does not just defend himself, he plays his final card. He feigns weakness and whispers the promise that has haunted Anakin. I have the power to save the one you love. You must choose. Anakin is faced with an impossible decision. Uphold the Jedi Code and let the only person who can supposedly save Padme die, or betray everything he stands for. His choice is visceral. He screams, I need him, and strikes Windu's arm. In that moment, Anakin Skywalker falls. He chooses personal attachment over principle, and in doing so, becomes the very thing he swore to destroy. Decades later, on the wreckage of the second Death Star, Rey and Kylo Ren are locked in a furious duel. Rey, having just learned she is the granddaughter of the man who ruined the galaxy, is filled with righteous anger. She channels that rage and impales Kylo Ren. For a split second, she stands on the exact same precipice as Anakin. She has struck down her enemy in anger. The dark side is roaring its approval. But here, at this exact precipice, their paths diverge. This is the single choice that separates the hero from the villain. Where Anakin, after striking Windu, commits to the fall and kneels before Palpatine, Rey looks at the man she just mortally wounded. Feeling Leia's passing through the Force, she is flooded not with triumph, but with regret. She reaches out and uses her power not to take a life, but to save one. She heals Kylo Ren, rejecting the cycle of vengeance. The consequences of that single choice create a perfect mirror image. Anakin's choice to kneel leads to his own enslavement. Defeated on Mustafar and left for dead, he is rebuilt into something less than human. The Vader suit is not armor, it is a prison, a mobile iron lung serving as a constant, agonizing reminder of his failure. He becomes a symbol of fear, his identity erased. Rey's journey is the inverse. Her choice to heal Kylo and defy Palpatine leads to her ascension. Where Anakin was left broken and burning, Rey later stands with the power of all the Jedi before her. Where Anakin was encased in a black mask of death, Rey becomes a beacon of light, channeling the Force to finally destroy Palpatine. His spirit had endured Anakin's sacrifice through dark science and Sith ritual, but she ends him permanently. She is not imprisoned by her lineage, she is liberated from it. This is what makes the theme of redemption so powerful. Anakin does find his own redemption, inspired by his son's love to destroy Palpatine's physical body, bringing a temporary balance. But the darkness endured. Rey's journey is the ultimate fulfillment of his prophecy. When she is at her lowest point on Exegol, she hears the voices of Jedi past. Among them is the voice of Anakin Skywalker. His words, however, are not a declaration of success, but a solemn admission of his own failure. He tells her, "Bring back the balance, Rey, as I could not." This is not mere encouragement. It is the passing of a torch, a charge to succeed where he ultimately fell short. The final, beautiful moment of this mirrored journey is on Tatooine. Rey buries the lightsabers of Luke and Leia in the desert sands. A local asks her name. She looks to the Force spirits of the siblings who trained her. She is a Palpatine by blood, but she rejects that legacy. Instead, she chooses her own family. She answers, Rey Skywalker. In that moment, she redeems the name, ensuring the Skywalker legacy does not end in tragedy with Anakin or in solitude with Luke, but is reborn as a symbol of hope, a testament to the fact that it is not our blood that defines us, but our choices. Therefore, Rey's journey is not a repetition of Anakin's. It is its reflection. It is the story of the Chosen One's fall told in reverse. Both were nobodies from desert planets. Both were haunted by family trauma. Both were powerful, flawed, and relentlessly manipulated by the galaxy's ultimate evil. But at the final critical moment, faced with the same temptation, they made opposite choices. Anakin chose fear and fell into darkness. Rey chose hope and ascended into the light. Anakin's story is a tragedy that warns how even the greatest hero can fall. Rey's story is the triumphant answer, showing that anyone, from anywhere, can rise to become a hero, not by avoiding the darkness, but by facing it and choosing the light. She does not just mirror Anakin's fall, she redeems it, proving